Designing a sequel to a genre-defining game like Breath of the Wild is a monumental task, and there are many places where a team could start. Where would you start? Would you start with courage? In the opening sequence of Tears of the Kingdom, Nintendo gives the player control of Link as you walk with Zelda down into an underground ruin. The developers understood it was important for the player to have control here. The environment sets a tone of immediate dread, and the player must muster their willpower to traverse downward, despite every fiber of their being telling them not to. This was a smart place to start. Link is the physical embodiment of courage, much like Zelda is to wisdom and Ganondorf is to power. To truly empathize with Link, then, the player must be made to do courageous things. So in Tears of the Kingdom, the developers make you go down the crypt. They make you face your fears, and even punish you for it. After some exposition, you wake up in the sky, and they make you jump not once, but 3 different times in the opening cave sequence. Then the big one. Over and over, in the opening moments of the game, the developers stress that you must be courageous. This meditation on courage feels like a reflection of the attitude they must have had when making the game. Put yourself in their shoes for a moment. You are lead designers of one of the most storied and revered franchises in gaming. You've just released Breath of the Wild, a game that represented a massive departure from the installments before it. It was a leap of faith the developers took when releasing that game, which lacked many of the elements of traditional Zelda games, like a linear narrative, item-based dungeon progression, and even any mention of the Triforce or Ganondorf, the series' most iconic villain. You have some options. Stick with what made Breath of the Wild great: exploration, freedom to complete the game in whatever order you choose, and the pleasure of being immersed in the natural world. They knew that wouldn't be enough. The reason Breath of the Wild was such a success was because they took big risks that paid off. They had courage when designing that game, and they needed to summon that same courage when designing its sequel. So Tears of the Kingdom was born out of this mindset, and courage was the North Star by which the design team was guided. You don't get a mechanic like Ultra Hand without taking risks. Any sane developer knows that a mechanic like this is bound to lead to bugs, exploits, and unforeseen horrors of which no human mind is capable of truly understanding. And, after they successfully designed the mechanic with almost 0 bugs and nearly infinite meme potential, they decided to try their hand at letting players fuse nearly anything to a weapon. What could go wrong? Apparently not much, because even though players are able to break Tears of the Kingdom in a myriad of ways, these things are all accounted for. The game seems to almost expect it of you at times. Look at this shrine, for instance. Courage to fall.
Okay, just gonna... Nope. No. Oh.
This is what happens when you start with courage. You relinquish control of the narrative and the gameplay, and allow your players to create the stories and define for themselves what a game means. Games create a place for us to escape into narrative, like the most ancient forms of storytelling, but we don't place our trust in a good storyteller to tell us something we already know. When you've accepted the safety of narrative, then the real danger is becoming bored. What we really want is to be surprised, We want to see the things we know in a new light. The developers knew this, and they reacted accordingly. Hyrule is familiar, yet changed in subtle and often not so subtle ways. We begin our journey through its wilds in the center, where guardians used to roam, and this time, it's not so wild. There's a brand new settlement, Lookout Landing, waiting for us there. Places that were havens of safety before are now fraught with danger. What was once dark and mysterious has become illuminated. This is how you follow up a revolutionary game, by subverting expectations time and time again, and showing us the power of courageous design. So, instead of retreading, be daring. Push yourself to do something new, even if it could fail, even if you fall flat. Let courage be your guiding light. By the way, did you notice this chain of sky islands in the final shot? This had me really feeling good about my thesis. These are the Courage Islands, located here on the map. Coincidence? I think not.